Yeah, I want to go over some internet myths. Some internet myths out there that are all over social media, and politicians love to repeat them. And we'll check out the motivations for those politicians why they like to repeat those internet myths. So I'm going to do a couple of categories. One of them is going to be based on internet myths, kind of the big internet myths that are going to affect your benefits in the future. And I'm also going to talk about those myths that will affect your benefits immediately. So I came up with this thumbnail yesterday: 5 Social Security myths debunked, and so I put that up yesterday, and I tried to narrow down the list to 5, and I wasn't able to. So if y'all don't mind, I'm going to give you some extras, as we always try to do in this channel. We're giving you extra. Hopefully, y'all don't. Hopefully, you don't mind. And obviously, so this the internet myths take about 10 or 15 minutes to go through. And this is also a live Q&A. It looks like I already got a bunch of questions. I've also got a couple of video questions that people sent in. So if you sent in a video question within the last 24 hours, there's 2 people that did. I will answer those questions today, and one of those will actually answer another internet myth out there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. I've actually put a bunch of these on my website, mygovexpert.com. It's information on retirement, disability, survivor benefits. There's a bunch of calculators in there. Your full retirement age calculator, your benefits calculator, all kinds of different free calculators. So make sure you check it out. But one of my sections in here is myths debunked. So let's go into some of these. I won't go in. There's about 12. I could put another 400 possibly in there, but we'll go through a few of them, and then I'm going to add some. I'll throw in some different ones in there as well. One of the things that is affecting benefits over the long term is Congress. Congress, our politicians, and us, because we refuse or have failed to make our politicians do their job and fix Social Security so it doesn't get a cut in the future. So we don't get cuts in our Social Security checks in the future. The Social Security Trustees report just came out with a new report, and it looks as though about 19%. You see in social media they say 23%, but that's because the Social Security, the retirement trust fund, that's going to be about 23% cuts if nothing is done. But there's a disability trust fund that's a lot better. So if they combine the two, then that's what the 19% comes from. But one of the reasons those cuts are going to happen is because politicians didn't do their job. And one of the reasons politicians didn't do their job because they keep perpetuating these myths, and we keep buying them. They keep distracting us, and we keep looking at those shiny objects. The money is given to foreign countries. Social Security money is given to illegals. They're given to Ukraine. It was stolen. It's all fake money. That's politicians trying to distract you, and it's been working. It's been working. I'm sure I will have some people up here in the live Q&As as well if they find that money. It's not found. It's not lost. If you look at the Social Security Trustees report yesterday, it lays it out in page after page after page after page. The money is there. It's just that it's being used. If you're getting a Social Security check, about 6 or 7% of your Social Security check comes from the trust fund. So the trust fund was not stolen. It was not given out to some people that were not entitled to it, not eligible for it. It's there, about $2.7 trillion. So that is a myth that politicians love to repeat because it shuts us up. We say, hey, Social Security, something has to be done about Social Security or we're going to get cuts in the future. And the politicians say, well, did you hear the money was stolen? Really? The money was stolen? Oh my gosh. Well, you're going to go find it for it. Yep, I'll go find it for it. Bye. And then 20 years later, you ask them again, what happened? Oh, I'm still looking for that money. So we need to be serious about this. Another myth is that Social Security is going bankrupt. No. Even though, wait, Ed, you just said it's running out of money. No, I said the trust fund is running out of money. Social Security itself, as long as we don't give it out to the billionaires, turn over Social Security over to the billionaires like Elon Musk wanted to do, as long as we keep Social Security, we will get, as I mentioned, about 80% of our checks. So for decades and decades and decades and decades, Social Security, for hundreds of years, Social Security will be here. The issue is how much your check is going to be. The trust fund covers that gap right now. When the trust fund goes empty, just like trust fund is a savings account. Since the 1980s, you baby boomers have put money in the savings account and paid extra into Social Security. That extra has gone into a savings account. And now you're retiring and you're pulling money out of that savings account. So about 90% of your check right now comes from people, the guy down the street working at the garage, or the lady at the restaurant, or whoever. That's where 90% of your check comes right now. It's pay as you go, right? Money comes in, it goes out. But that 7 or 8% gap comes from the trust fund. And slowly that trust fund will deplete, and then there's nothing to cover that gap. So Social Security is not going bankrupt. It's going to be for hundreds of years. The problem is, how much are you going to get paid? Okay, so those are a couple of the big ones. Let's get into a couple ones that are affecting people's benefits right now. One is that when you're on survivor benefits, you get 2 checks. This is correct. It's incorrect. I've taken hundreds of thousands of claims when I worked at Social Security, and this is one of the unfortunate ones I used to have to tell people. When you pass away, if you're married, let's say, this is how it usually happens. The wife, let's say the wife is making $1,000 from Social Security, and the husband is making $2,000 from Social Security. So the household is getting $3,000 every month coming in from Social Security. So people think, this internet myth out there, that if the higher earning spouse passes away, the lower earning spouse gets that check. That is correct, but it's offset. So what happens is the lower earning spouse continues to get that $1,000 plus, yes, they get the $2,000, but now it's offset. So basically you get your $1,000 plus the $1,000 difference, so you get $2,000. So basically one day, your household with the married couple is getting $3,000 a month. One person passes away, the higher earning spouse passes away. And then the next day, basically, you're getting $2,000. So you're getting $1,000 cut. And I have unfortunately had to tell way, way, way too many people that reality when they came in. I thought I was going to get my husband's or wife's check. Yes, you will, minus your own. So please, please, please plan for that. Another myth out there is that on divorced spouses, you can't get your divorced spouse benefits until they file for benefits. That is incorrect. If it's your current spouse, yes, your current spouse has to file for benefits in order for you to file for benefits. So in terms of a divorced spouse, so if your divorced spouse is, as long as your divorced spouse is at least 62 or receiving benefits, then you're eligible for benefits on that person's record. This is called, going to my website, it's called independently entitled divorced spouse. And unfortunately, this is a myth that's even perpetrated within Social Security, because not the people at the front windows, they're generalists at the front windows, often don't know about it because they're not specialists in retirement, they're generalists. And so you go in there and says, yeah, I want to file my divorced husband's benefits. And they say, well, that person hasn't filed yet. You can't file. That's incorrect. So that's the reason on this particular issue, I've actually added the SSA reference, the Social Security Administration reference. So you can go down there and get your benefits. Use that to show that person at the front window. Once you get past the front window and actually go to a specialist, they will say, yeah, independently entitled divorced spouse. Okay, no problem. Let's go ahead and take care of you. So, all right. Another myth out there is everyone is denied for disability the first time. This is really hurting a lot of people out there. They become disabled, lose their job, or have to cut back their hours at their job substantially, and they're dealing with their disability. They're dealing with financial issues. They're dealing with work and family and all this kind of stuff. And then they hear this myth that, well, if you file for Social Security disability, you're just going to be denied anyway. Stop that, because it really hurts those people that really need to file for those benefits. How do I know? I've taken hundreds of thousands of claims, and quite a few of those were approved the first day. If you're a Terry case, a terminal illness, I've had many, 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 many cases that were approved the same day or the next day, within a week. So no, you're not. this is usually lawyers saying this, so they want you to use a lawyer. If you or someone wants to go ahead and file for disability benefits, then you can definitely check out my website on that, the eligibility, benefit calculation, the application process. It goes through a bunch of frequently asked questions. So that is definitely one that we need to get rid of, because it just hurts those people. People think they're smart by saying, "Oh, I know Social Security. They deny you the first time." We used to call that the barracks lawyer. Never listen to a barracks lawyer. So another one that's going around right now is undocumented immigrants receive Social Security. That is not correct. So in order to receive Social Security benefits, when you file for retirement, disability, Medicare, whatever the case may be, Social Security employee, anybody that's ever filed knows that you have to provide proof. If you were born in this country, then your proof predominantly is what's called your numinant. When you filed for your Social Security number, when you were, 1 year old or 5 years old or 10 years old, it showed that you were born in the United States in Akron, Ohio, or Homestead, Florida, or whatever the case may be. So that's proof. But if it shows on the internal records that you got your Social Security number and you put you were born outside the United States, then you have to provide certificate of naturalization, green card, whatever the case may be. If you provide a green card, the Social Security employee has to go through this process called the SAVE system and confirm through immigration that it is a valid green card. So the whole thing about immigrants receiving Social Security benefits is incorrect. So no Medicare, Medicaid as well. Medicaid, there are exceptions for Medicaid. Some people that are undocumented do receive. They don't receive it. The hospitals do, because when someone goes to the hospital, car accident or something like that, they're in a coma, unconscious or something. They don't wait for the person to come around and and say, okay, before I pull his gunshot, or do whatever I need to do, I need to see your papers. They don't do that. The doctors are supposed to take care of you. And then what happens? Oh, this person is undocumented. They don't have health insurance. They don't have whatever. Then the states and those hospitals are reimbursed by the federal government. So it's only emergency type situations. So that is not a reason. All right. So another thing, is another myth out there, is that your check will never increase. Once you start receiving your Social Security benefits, your check will never increase. That is incorrect. Anybody knows your COLA? Number one, your COLA. The COLA increase, cost of living allowance, once a year. The Department of Labor Statistics looks at the inflation rate and then does the COLA adjustment. Okay, so everybody knows that one. But there's also, if you continue working, it doesn't matter whether you're 67, 77, 87, 97, doesn't matter how old you are. If you continue working and continuing to pay into Social Security, your benefits will increase. So if that's one of your high 35 years of earnings. And if you took your benefits early, like at 62, 63, and then you go back to work and your benefits are suspended, what happens when you hit your full retirement age? Social Security looks at that and they recalculate your benefits and essentially unreduce however many months you got those checks. So there's several ways your benefits can increase in the future. Another one, since we're talking a little bit about Medicaid here, is the myth that you can't get Medicare and Medicaid at the same time. That is incorrect. Millions of people are receiving Medicare, which is what you sign up through the Social Security Administration, and Medicaid through that's a welfare-based program, a needs-based program from the state. So there's millions of people that receive Medicare and Medicaid, and if you are in a higher level of Medicaid, there's different levels of Medicaid, and I've got all these through my website here. There's QMB and SlimB and the QI and different types of Medicaid. And if you're at the higher levels of Medicaid, you can get what's called the Medicare Savings Program, where the state actually pays for your Medicare Part B premium, that $185. So if you know anybody out there that's struggling to pay that $185, could use another $185 in their pocket, tell them apply to the state and contact the state there. and apply for Medicaid and say, hey, are y'all going to pay for my Part B as well? And then if you get Medicare and Medicaid, then you're eligible for what's called a Medicare Advantage dual eligible plan. And you can reach out to my partners at Chapter there. I'll pop up that number there, but you can reach out to them and they can help you find a Medicare Advantage dual eligible plan with, one of those grocery cards. You see those, that's not a myth. Those grocery cards that you see, they are available, but they're mostly tied to those Medicare Advantage dual eligible plans. So a lot of people, really depend on that extra $200, $100, $200 or something for that Medicare Advantage plan. I usually recommend Medicare supplements, but if you have Medicare and Medicaid, you can definitely get one of those if it's available in your area. So, all right. So I think we went through quite a few myths. I wanted to keep it to about 15 minutes, and I kept it to 15 minutes. And now let's go ahead and get to some of your questions. So if you got any questions, just go ahead and type them in there. If you're watching this on a recording, and make sure you like and subscribe. And I forgot to show you, if you want to do a video question on my website, on the bottom left, question or comment, you click on that and it brings up a little video that you can record yourself. And we'll watch a couple of those here in a little bit. I answer those within 24 hours live. So. All right, let's get some questions here. My aunt is 67 next August, wants to retire. Should she decide to collect a year earlier before full retirement age? Will she be penalized the rest of her life? Thanks for all you do. You're always calm, cool, and collected. Long-time listener. All right. Nice. Improvise, adapt, overcome, right? Old Gunny Highway. So if she collects early, yes, her basic benefit will always be reduced. Once you start your benefits early, then that's the benefit you'll get for the rest of your life. Obviously, as I just mentioned, you'll get COLA increases if you continue to work, and it's 1 year high, 35, it'll increase. If she, stops those benefits for a while because she's working over the annual earnings limit and then restarts, then, it'll be recalculated. But basically, yes, bar those 3 or 4, situations, then once you start your benefits early, then that's your basic amount going forward for the rest of your life. So that's why it's important. And that's one of the reasons on my retirement, I've got a great little calculator here on when to start. And it gives a little kind of gives you an idea with a break-even analysis, a nice little chart there that shows you basically helps you make a better decision. Nobody can tell you when you should start your benefits. If you need the money now, you need the money now. So, Kitty, when you apply for Social Security benefits, yes, they will reduce if you applied before for all. However, COLA increases are possible. Yep, we got the greatest community, and I've got some great news. I was reached out by Chapter, and I've got some good news I'm going to talk about on Monday, and I'm going to give y'all opportunity to vote, and I will talk about that Monday. But basically, our Chapter is going to donate to a charity of our choice. So I'm going to let y'all choose. So I've come up with I'm looking 4 or 5 different charities that have the best efficiency in terms of the actual money goes to, what it's supposed to go to, rather than the CEO getting all the money. So I'm coming up with a list about 4 or 5 of those. And on Monday's broadcast, I will put those and y'all vote. And then whoever y'all vote for, Chapter is going to donate to that charity on y'all's behalf. So awesome. So we'll see y'all Monday. All right. Hello, I am on Social Security. I would like to know if we are receiving any extra money, whatever they want to refer to as a stimulus or increase or thing. Nothing right now. Yeah, there was talk for, a few minutes about, the Doge dividend, where Doge was going to find $2 trillion, and then we were going to get $5,000, part of it was going to go pay down the debt, and the other part was going to go, majority of the part was going to go to, the rich tax cuts. But now it's still going to the rich tax cuts, but no stimulus. Yeah. There's a lot of There's one guy out there on YouTube that gives an update on the stimulus every single day because people love the stimulus, and so they click his and says, "Oh yeah, stimulus today." They goes on for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then the result is no, yeah, nothing. Does the COLA also apply to raise the family max total just like it does to each individual's payment? Yes, yes. The family max is basically that there's a maximum that can be paid on records and all, because the family max is based on the PIA, the primary insurance amount, your benefit amount at your full retirement age. So COLA increases that, and so subsequently increases the family max. William, hey William, received a letter that suspending Social Security benefits 1 month due to overpayment. Letter does not state overpayment amount. Social Security office also does not know amount. How do I find overpayment amount if Social Security doesn't even know? Yeah, that's probably an automatic generated letter by the computer that saw something. What it usually is in that particular case is somewhere, in your local district office, Social Security office, or the regional office, or whatever the case may be. They pushed a button on, because I think, William, you've been here before, and you've just filed or something. And what often happens, I'm not sure if this is your case, but this is what often happens. Someone looks at your case and they do something, do a calculation or change something, and they push the button. And then they look at it and say, "Oh, okay, wait a second, that doesn't look right." And they go back and double check it, and they change it and they fix it. But as soon as they push that button, then a letter is generated automatically by the central warehouse, the central printing thing that sends out a letter that says, "Here's the deal." And since then, it's been fixed. So that's probably why someone looked in there and says, "Yeah, we don't know what this letter is." It's probably just, they did it, a letter generated automatically, and then the person goes in there and says, "Oh, okay, wait a second, that doesn't look right. Let me check again. Oh, okay." And then they go back there and fix it. So that's probably it. So yeah, if your Social Security benefits are going to be suspended, but you've called and they say, "No, it doesn't look like it's being suspended," then that's probably it. But I would definitely keep an eye on it. Make sure it's correct there. Let's see. Please be positive tonight, Ed. I'm positive, right? Yeah, I'm positive they're going to get cuts if we don't get these politicians to do something about it. So anyway, that's turning that around. Was it Dr. Weird? Yeah, okay. Love your channel. Extremely informative. Eliminates the clickbait. Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. The seventh internet myths, the same exact myths have been said long before the internet existed. Yes. Good points. Yes, absolutely. A lot of those are not necessarily internet myths. They're just myths that have been around here before the internet. Okay, you got me on that one. Yes. All right, let's watch a couple of, I love doing these video ones. So let's watch these two. I'll answer.
Hi, Dr. Weir. My name is Karen. I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I actually have I have like 3 questions, but I'll just send in one at a time. The first question I have is I am on a Medicare Advantage plan, Blue Cross Blue Shield, through Georgia's state health benefit plan from when I was teaching there. So my question for you is if you think that when the pay-go system kicks in, when they start their cuts, if the big beautiful bill passes, if even a plan like that will be affected, it's actually through the state. And my second question, if you'll let me do another question, is I was told my Social Security benefits were denied, my retirement benefits, because I applied too early, they said. I'm applying to start at full retirement age in November. So they are making me redo the application. So my question for you is when you think that I should actually do that to make sure I don't get turned away again and denied. I did call Social Security, both the field office in Chattanooga here and also the main line, and they assured me that I would be able to reapply. Just I have to do it. I can't do it too many months before my full retirement age in November. Thank.
Okay, so Medicare Advantage, yes. So it's called sequestration, the pay go, because the big beautiful bill itself does not say anything about Medicare cuts, but because the big beautiful bill, terrible name, it causes deficits, then another sequestration, a pay go system automatically kicks in, and that's when the Medicare cuts happen. So politically, politicians, because those particular politicians want to cut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and everything, but that's something they don't want to be seen doing. So this is an easy out. So they cause a massive deficit year over year, and that automatically kicks in. So they say, well, yeah, we have to balance the budget. We have to be fiscally responsible, yada yada yada, all the time while they're giving money to billionaires and billionaire corporations. But anyway, so if it passes, then Medicare, there's going to be a lot of cuts on Medicare, and the Medicare Advantage plans. You have one through Georgia, so a lot of states and companies as well, they say, hey, if you work and you work for us for 20, 30, 40, 50 years and you retire, we'll provide you health care forever. What they have found over the last several years is, the CEO is like, wow, we need to cut, cut costs. We'll go after retirees, and we're providing these great health plans for these people. Can we save money on this? Yes. So they switch their health plans that used to have, basically when you're working, and they switched them to Medicare Advantage plans because it saves them a lot of money. And this is where the prioritizations and networks and all that. But those Medicare Advantage plans through those particular type of, companies and, governments, your, retired teacher, those are usually better than the other plans available in that area. Usually. So I would definitely check out that, once October comes around, call up chapter, and they can't see your Medicare Advantage plan because it's a state one. It's not generally available. So you'll have to, provide that information, and that way they can compare apples and oranges and see if it's still the best plan. So super long story short, will it affect? Yeah, possibly. If Medicare itself gets hurt and that affects Medicare Advantage plans, across the board, whoever company that, they still have to make a profit. So they will change the plans. And remember, those Medicare Advantage plans, your plan included, those are only good for 1 year. Next year, it's completely different. Could be completely the same or completely different or tweaked here and there. So every single year, it could be different. So it's important to check that on a regular basis. And with yours, check that one, and then check the ones that are available in the open market to everybody else. Okay. And the retirement question, you can only file for about 3 or 4 months beforehand. And some people say, oh, I did it 5 months beforehand. Yes, you can, but I've done it myself when I worked at Social Security. Someone's going on vacation or overseas, and so I'm like, okay, I'll go ahead and take it, but I will put your file right here because I can't put it into the computer system because it's not the calm month, as they call it. But anyway, I will put it right here, and I guarantee it in 2 months, I will go ahead and put it in the system when I can put it in the system. But now with, Doge and Elon, they've got rid of a lot of people. So I almost guarantee there's people that filed early like that the employees said, okay, you applied 4 or 5 months early, I'll take care of it. And that employee might not be there anymore. So just apply 3 months before, just to be on the safe side. So, and yeah, you were denied before because it's too early. It's no big deal.
Hi, Dr. Weir. Miss Cindy here. I was wondering, for people that have birthdays in January, February, March, does that mean that they only get 1, 2, 3 months of that triple earnings cap the year prior to their full retirement age? Seems kind of like if your birthday's early in the year that we miss out. Can you clarify?
Yeah. So what she's talking about is when you file for benefits early. So 62, 63, 64, then you're limited the amount of money you can make. This here is $23,400. But if you you're turning your full retirement age, let's say this year, let's say your full retirement age, you hit it in November of this year. So basically between January and October, you can make this year you can make $62,160 just in those first, 10 months, 9 months. Anything over that, Social Security holds back $1 for every $3 you go over. So yeah, when you're, so January, February, March, so you can make $62,000. If you hit your full retirement age in February, in January, you can make $62,160. In February, you can make $1 billion. It doesn't matter anymore. So yeah, it's not really an issue because once you hit your full retirement age, then yeah, you can make as much as you want. So, but that's, a lot of people miss on that and they think, oh, I hit my full retirement age this year, full retirement age, money I make before is, 23,400. No, it's tripled that amount. So Bella, what's up, Bella? Bella, hopefully Bella is took, and the rest of the gang is going to be here on Monday when I put up the choices that we have. So Bella, please chime in, and I've picked some health related ones, some homeless ones, some ones for the elderly, a nice little grouping of 4 or 5 different ones, and. So, all right, Bernie Sanders is out touring America this weekend on his tour. He stated we must raise the cap on FICA for Social Security at his rally this afternoon. Yeah, he's been pushing for that for a long time. So we pay FICA, Social Security, and every penny we make. But after $176,100, after you hit that amount, you're exempt after that amount. So. Yeah, we pay it on all, but if you're rich, not so much. My CDR will be in 7 years. Will I receive a CDR sooner if I stop taking my medications because they're giving me too much problem? No. Yeah, Social Security doesn't know if you're not taking your medications. But obviously, reach out to your doctor about that. But that's when you do have a CDR in situations like this. Make sure you have a conversation with your doctor about that. Because let's say if you get your CDR next year and they ask about stuff like that, it says, are you, following your doctor's orders and stuff like that? If you followed your doctor's orders, then you might not be disabled anymore and you might be able to go to work. So they could say that. But if you don't take your medications because of some type of, after effects or, some where it makes you feel worse or, whatever the case may be, some terrible side effects, whatever the case may be, then just have a conversation with your doctor. And that way it's documented. And it's like, hey, the doctor gave me this for this particular illness, this part of my disability, but it makes this other part, 10 times worse. And therefore we have decided, to not do it. So as long as something like that, then just keep a record of it and don't worry about it. I was supposed to get my first spousal benefits, and you said your CDR is going to be in 7 years. You shouldn't even, don't even stress it because you're going to stress out about a CDR for 7 years, and that's what's going to hurt you the worst is stressing about a CDR, continuing disability review, for the next 7 years. On my site there, it talks about continuing reviews. So just, it gives you all the information. Like I've got tons of questions about continuing disability reviews, the short ones and the long ones and all the rest of it. Let's see. So it's, there's one on here. I heard that even if I'm scheduled for the CDR, I might not get it. Yes, because you might not even get it in 7 years because the local office doesn't have the budget. So if they don't have the budget, they don't do them. So yeah, you're gonna stress yourself out even more. So just go on with your life and take care of yourself. I was supposed to get my first spousal benefit June 2nd or June 18th. I have not received either. I checked online. It appears to have gone to a different bank. Should I call Social Security or wait? No, if it's gone to a different bank, I'm not sure how it went to a different. Oh, they might have. Yeah, just put a little thing in there went to Chase or Bank of America. Yeah, you need to contact Social Security immediately. So the Department of Treasury can go in there, whatever bank account, probably they had a wrong routing number or something. Somebody, did the digit wrong. Yeah, you need to contact Social Security immediately and get that sucked out from that other account and then put in yours. Wild one. Thank you, sir. I got through a few days ago and had great luck and got info I needed. Now waiting for an appointment. Waited 2 hours, but was treated wonderfully. All right. Good. Awesome. Good. And I assume that's a local Social Security office. So put that office, tell us what office that is. We can give them a shout out. I just told a friend about Chapter for her roommate. He couldn't afford his plan, N or G. I gave her the Chapter for him. Yes. Thank you. So yeah, let us know how that goes. Chapter's doing an awesome job, but I always keep up on anybody I recommend. So yeah, that's an unfortunate part. I always recommend Medicare Supplement Plan N and G. Why? Because they don't have those prior authorizations. If your doctor says you need something and it's medically necessary, it's done. You don't get second guessed by some insurance company. And there's no networks when you get a Medicare Supplement Plan. But the problem is a lot of people, the reason they don't get them is because, yeah, it does have a monthly premium. So sometimes people try to keep it as long as you possibly can. Chapter will tell you the same thing. Can you get, particularly if you're sick, and you go to the doctor often and you have, kind of difficult issues, you don't want to have to be second guessed by an insurance company. So keep it as long as possible. But if you can't afford it anymore, then you can't afford it. Then you'll have to switch to a Medicare Advantage plan. But it just takes a lot more work, possibly. Prior authorizations, and that's a great thing about Chapter is if you're one of their members, they have a member success team, and if you get some type of prior authorization and you get a bunch of denials or something, you reach out to them and they kind of help you, navigate the bureaucracy. If you get weird letters, they help you. So it just takes more effort on a Medicare Advantage plan to get what you're eligible, entitled to, and paid for. But keep it as long as possible. But depending on the state and that particular person's situation, they might not be able to switch to a Medicare Advantage plan immediately. But reach out to Chapter and they'll check your state and see if you're able to do it. So if not, then you'll have to wait till October. But yeah, give them a call anyway, and just to see if there's any type of what's called a special enrollment period. It seems contacting our politicians won't work right now. Their king will not let them. Yeah, they seem to be having all kinds of meetings in the middle of the night and kind of fake meetings and all that. And say, again, anytime they do a bill like this, they give a few crumbs to the rest of us, and then they use those crumbs as bait for everything else. But over 80% of the tax benefits go to millionaires, billionaires, and billion corporations. $1 billion corporations, and that's where a vast majority. But yeah, do they give us a few crumbs? Yes. But then they take Medicaid and food stamps for people, and eventually, start with Medicare and all the rest of it because of the pay-go. And before you start typing, there's nothing in the big beautiful bill about cutting Medicare. Yes, that is correct. But then politicians are smarter than that. They're playing 3D chess, and we're playing checkers. So we need to, be smarter. I submitted Social Security application. I'll be 70 old in 2025. I was disabled 3.5 years. On the app, they asked about disability. Why are they wasting time to see if I qualify when I marked that I'm not applying for disability? Yeah, that's just, I'm not even sure why they do that. It must be some type of demographic, something they see but yeah, you just put yes or no. Yeah, once you hit your full retirement age, no such thing as disability. So just ignore that question. Answer it however you want. But yeah, they should take that question out of the application because it's not unless they're doing it for some other type of demographics, for whatever reason. But I'm not sure why they would. I always wondered that, but it's not relevant to you. I will be 62 next year and hope to take Social Security early. Will they consider my state pension as work income? No. Nope, not as work income, because that's not work. You're not working. You work to earn that pension, but when you receive that pension, you didn't clock, you know. So you retired 10 years ago and now you get a check. Did you work this week to get to this week's check? No. So it's not earned income. So they don't count that as, yeah. So yeah, you're just asking. So again, you go on to my website and I've got that type of stuff. When you go into when to start your benefits, there is, oh wait, it's on the working and receiving benefits. And it tells you what is considered under this, and calculate the work. Yeah. So it tells you what income counts and what doesn't count. So you're talking government benefits, so pension type stuff, pension annuities, that does not count as income, earned income. It's income, but not earned income for Social Security in terms of the annual earnings limit. Linda, thank you for your education on Social Security. You're awesome. Thank you very much. You are awesome. So make sure you share it with all your friends and like and subscribe, and see if you can go out there in the world and see if you can find some people some more money that they are eligible for and they didn't know they have. I forgot. Does Social Security have a bunch of IOUs? Well, just like anything else, you have a bunch of IOUs. They're called dollars in your pocket. So you know, that's an IOU. And when you put money in the bank, that's an IOU. The bank owes you. They gave you an IOU. That when you want that money, you can go get that money. So just the same type of thing. Put money into 401k. That's an IOU. So Social Security, that 2.7 trillion is in treasury bonds, and every month, every year, we went right now since 2021 up to 2021, we were putting money into the trust fund. As of 2021, we started pulling money out of that trust fund. So, and we're going to continue pulling that money out of the trust fund until 2034, when there ain't no more trust fund, and therefore that's when everybody's going to get a cut, unless we decide to make our politicians do something. But we can't do that unless we stop getting them to distract us with shiny objects. Any cut, I won't make it. I have messaged senators, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, cut even 20%, I won't make it. I have been frugal all my, and that's what's going to affect, it doesn't affect the, the millionaires, billionaires. They don't care. Elon Musk, he said Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme and the biggest fraud. And, he doesn't care about Social Security. You could tell, he was passing all those, misinformation / lies, plus, about those millions of deceased people receiving benefits, and he never found any that are receiving benefits. So yeah, they don't. Yeah, that $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 they will get from Social Security, they don't care. But it's going to definitely hurt the people out there that really need that information. Hey, Jeff, long time no see. How we doing? Please, please, please look for something from Clovia Dunn. She really needs your help. Clovia Dunn. Yeah, she wants to do tell her, Jeff, tell her I've got this new thing. I haven't seen you here in a little while. But my new little thing on my website is you click on this little thing here and it pops up. Let me go ahead and see if it pops up here. Oh, there it is. You got to press out and it pops up a little thing, and then it says record your answer. I'm trying to fix this record your answer, but just click on that and then record your question, and then I will answer her question within 24 hours. So yeah, please tell her to record that, and that way I'll definitely respond. Let's see. It's up to SCOTUS to balance things out. Yeah, balance. Yeah, checks and balances, right? It's a mess right now. Many chickens running around with their heads cut off because his king has threatened those who argue with him. Yeah. Okay, let's see what I'm trying to find. We're getting close to the end here. Does illegal immigrants get free elementary and high school education? Yeah. And I'm actually going to do a video tomorrow that the president was, 100% illegal immigrants, and now not so much. So as long as you work in these particular parts of the country, you're good now. So not sure what happened with all of that. So it's you get whiplash nowadays. Was it Stephen Miller? He's the guy. Even Trump said he's kind of severe. Was it Trump was quoted as saying that if Stephen Miller had his way, there'd only be 100 million people in this country, and they would all look like him. White dude. And there's over 300 million in the United States, and so he argues that it'd be cut by 2/3. Definitely sounds. Even if Trump didn't say it, it definitely sounds accurate about Miller. If I start taking Social Security at 65, January 2026, for 2 years, and I suspend at 67 until 70, the amount increases 8% per year. Correct. That's called delayed retirement credits. Does the amount also increase by COLA to those 3 additional? Yes. Everybody, that's a common question. Everybody, whoever is receiving a Social Security check or about to receive a Social Security check or going to receive a Social Security check in the future, everybody's benefit amount is adjusted by COLA every single year, because you have to look at it. The best way to understand stuff is look at it, its illogical conclusion. So if COLA didn't increase stuff, so we, since like the 1970s, when they first started making COLA kind of mandatory, they took it out of the political sphere and took it in, put into a bunch of bean counters at the Department of Labor calculating. So if COLA didn't apply to everybody since the 1970s, everybody's check would be $200 or $300 a month. So yes, COLA is applied to everything relevant to Social Security every single year. So. Paul, typo on the name. No worries. Yeah, no worries whatsoever. Yeah, it happens. I do it sometimes. That's why I never run for office. That's why people say you should run for Congress with a name like Weir. Could you imagine all the signs along Side of the Road? Oh, come on, Weir, weirdo. Yeah, no, I'd change mine. I was like Ray Kroc. It's like, you're not going to own a restaurant, Croc's Hamburgers. So that's why you stole the McDonald's, right? So I'm the same way. Unless I change my name, I'm never running for office. So does the Department of Labor know? And yeah, I'd be too annoying as a politician anyway. Does the Department of Labor know how the balance of things will be for 2025, or do we have to wait until October? We have to wait for October. Here's another thing social media people do out there to get clicks is they say COLA, the new information on COLA, click here, new information on COLA. They do that for every single day until September 30th. And until that date, it's useless to talk about it, because COLA is determined by the Department of Labor, and they look at the third quarter of this year. The third quarter of this year doesn't finish until September 30th. So you could have 15% inflation this quarter. And so you're saying, people are going to say, oh my God, 15% inflation. So we're going to get a 15% COLA next year. No. And then when September 3rd comes around, it's 15% deflation. So guess what? You're going to get a 0% COLA for next year because it balanced out. So anything you see COLA related up until the first week in October, ignore it because we don't know. So it's just more clickbait out there, unfortunately. In Illinois, illegals receive Medicaid, 100% for sure. It's my wife's job to approve those claims, or nor it was called HBIA, and ends July 1st, 2025. But the funds came from the state, not federal, not Social Security. Correct. You are 100% correct. So some states, Illinois, New York, California, they have determined that it's in their best interest for people, rather than, they know people are here in the country legally, and they have accidents and they get sick. And rather than putting that debt on the hospitals and the doctors and stuff like that, they have decided that, okay, we'll go ahead and cover it. So that's what they decided as states' rights, right? So, but yes, that money does not come out of Medicaid, the national Medicaid. It doesn't come out of Social Security. Those are those particular states. And yes, some of those states are pulling back on that. So I wish YouTube didn't do pop-up ads too. Dr. Ed has no control of the ads, but you can watch a recorded version, I think, without. Yeah, I think YouTube, unless you do the YouTube Premium. If you do YouTube Premium, then you don't get ads. So I had YouTube Premium for a while, but then I canceled it because I want to see what kind of crazy ads pop up. So yeah. Google Ad Remover. I have one for YouTube. I do not have ads with it. Not sure about that. Let's see. I don't have $3 a month, and I don't know how to use those devices. Oh dear, no family, live alone. Okay, not sure. Answering somebody else's question or something. Okay, all right. We're running out of time. Let me see if I can find someone here that I don't recognize. Okay, Wanda. I draw my husband's Social Security. I'm 73. Will I ever lose that for I didn't get to work for I was disabled, so I didn't get to pay in? So if you're receiving your husband's Social Security, no, that will stay. Obviously, the cuts coming, that's going to be across the board. People think, well, oh, I don't care about future cuts. Too bad for people retire in the future, but I already started my benefits. Sorry. The Social Security Act doesn't work that way. Social Security can only pay what it has. It has, let's say, 80% coming in on a monthly, yearly basis from people paying Social Security tax, FICA tax, and then it has a savings, the trust fund, to cover the gap. Once that trust fund comes, they can't borrow money. Social Security cannot borrow money. They can only pay what it's a self, paying system, self-sustaining system. So yeah, if Congress doesn't do something, then in 2034, everybody's going to get cuts. But right now, nothing. You're good. So whether you worked or didn't work or anything like that, that's not relevant. So you're going to continue to get your Social Security check. Remember, you're 73. So there's one thing a lot of people miss. It doesn't sound like it's in your case, but if you're receiving survivor benefits, sometimes people receive survivor benefits because at that time it's higher than their own. So let's say you started receiving survivor benefits at 63 years old, and you took those instead of benefits on your own record because your own record was lower. Smart idea. But over the years, up until you hit 70, your benefits on your own record continue to increase. And after your full retirement, they increase by 8% per year. So a lot of people out there don't know they've got extra benefits available on their record, and they're continuing to get survivor benefits. But in your case, it doesn't sound, you never really worked, so that's probably not relevant in your case. And then if you have another, doesn't sound like it's relevant to your case, but if you have another previous spouse, let's say you were married 2 times. And when you filed on your last spouse when that person passed away as survivor benefits. And the Social Security employee was supposed to ask you, says, were you ever married before, 10 years or longer, married anybody that, that were married when you're deceased? And you say, yeah, I was married to another person for 10 years. And the Social Security employees are supposed to look at that record and say, okay, that person is still alive. You're only eligible up to 50%. So definitely the survivor benefits on the second husband, that's the way to go. Let's go ahead and do that. And everything's good. But maybe 5, 10 years, 20 years later, your first husband passes away. And now you're eligible for not 50%, but up to 100%. And maybe the first spouse's benefit amount is higher. So there's a lot of people out there that are missing that benefit too. They're on a second spouse or third spouse, and they don't realize that they can get benefits on a first or second spouse. It's always goes to the higher. Whichever one is the highest benefit, that's the one Social Security gives you. Again, you have to fulfill the marriage length requirements and everything. So, yeah. So if you know any, please go out there and, talk to your neighbors, talk to your relatives, talk to your friends, and, make sure they're getting the correct amount. Small spot on my face next to my nose. So I'm not sure. Let's see. Son just received Social Security disability. How can he get Medicaid? His wife might leave him and he will be helpless. I am SSD and can't afford food. or drive. Ooh. So if he's receiving Social Security disability insurance, if he's receiving SSI, supplemental security income, even a dollar of SSI, then he's eligible automatically. It's called categorically eligible for Medicaid. But he's receiving SSDI. If he's receiving SSDI, he should apply for Medicaid. But they will look at his SSDI, they'll look at his SSDI and any other income or anything in the house. But if he's currently married, they're probably holding his wife's income and resources against him, and so he might be denied. But doesn't hurt to apply to double check. And then if his situation changes, so if he's denied because they use his, wife's income and resources against him, apply those to him, and they'll say, no, you're not eligible for Medicaid because of this. And then when he gets divorced, then obviously that doesn't count anymore. So then reapply at that time. Yes, everyone remember, money is a live vote. We have a vote to donate organization or community. Yes. I think it's awesome. Chapter reached out to me and they said, we're doing a phenomenal job. There's so many people out there sharing the channel and reaching out, and they watch every now and then. The people at Chapter watch and they see, I just found these benefits and I found some benefits from my friend, and I'm looking out for asking these questions from my friend and my neighbor and my grandmother and stuff like that. And they love what we're doing here. So they wanted to celebrate what I would argue the best community on the internet. So, is a representative responsible for paying the overpayment of my son since he lost his disability check? Well, a representative payee is basically just a representative payee. So, if your son has an overpayment, because it's your son's overpayment, and the representative payee is just the person who's in charge of those. So if your son has an overpayment because the representative payee did something wrong, then unfortunately your son still has the overpayment, and it's incumbent upon the representative payee to fix that, to do a request for a waiver or request for a payment plan or whatever the case may be. So my website there, I've got the section on overpayments, the SSA 632, your appeal rights, and all the rest of it. So I thought I had links. One of these, I'm going to have to make it jump out a little bit better. Okay, there we go. Okay. No. I thought I had links to the actual forms. I know I have them on the other Medicare special enrollment ones. Okay. This website, we're getting this better every single day. So let me add links for the 561 and the 632. Okay. And I'll make it stand out of there a little bit. So the direct links to those particular forms from SSA. So I will add that this week. All right, let's see here. Jim, my wife is a retired Detroit policewoman that didn't pay into Social Security. Can she collect off me? Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And before, she would be under the government pension offset. So which means that 2/3 of her non-covered pension would offset what she receives off of you. But the Social Security Fairness Act ends that. So now she can get benefits on your record without the GPO being affected, which is different than all the other 97% of people. They get their benefits anyway. So she's in a special situation. So where she gets special treatment other than the other 97%. That's why I disagree with the Social Security Fairness Act. But in your particular case, in her particular case, it's a big, big benefit for her. So get it. Stephen, when you are finally approved for SSDI, is there a limit on how much you made that year before you knew they were going to approve you? If before you start receiving benefits, so you could, make $1 billion 1 month, and then the following year, because of your disability, it was a sudden onset disability, car accident or something, then the next month, they don't care what you made before. But if you filed for benefits and while you're waiting for your your application to be approved, if you started working, then yes, you need to make sure you notify them. But there's also things called an unsuccessful work attempt, UWA. So basically, let's say you filed for benefits, and then you're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting to get those benefits, and you have to pay, you have to pay bills, right? So you go out there and try to work, but you know, because of your disability, you're only able to work a month or 2 months or something like that, and then you have to stop again. That's called an unsuccessful work attempt. So contact Social Security. If you're in that latter part, contact Social Security and say, hey, by the way, I want to tell you that, hey, I had to pay the bills. So I tried to work. It, made my disability worse. I just wasn't able to do it. But I only did it for this amount of weeks or, a month or 2 months or whatever the case may be. And they should write it off as a unsuccessful work attempt. So Dr. Gloria. Hey, Dr. Gloria, I'm 67 years old and I'm only getting Social Security $1,200. I wonder if I'm qualified for disability. I cannot work anymore. I have neuropathy and both my legs can hardly walk. Unfortunately, after your full retirement age, you're not eligible for disability anymore. Everybody in the country, after their full retirement age, their disability stops. It's just switched over to regular retirement benefits. But there is an exception if you're filing for new. So you're 67 now, but if you are making the argument that your disability began 2 years ago or a year ago, you could file for disability and say, maybe get that back pay for that last year. So if your disability just started and you're 67, then no. But if your disability started 12 months ago, then you could very well file for disability and you'll get that, if you're approved, that year of back pay. So Darcy, thank you so much for easing my worries. You are really awesome for helping us and making these confusing rules understandable. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I hate to do these kind of negative videos about the Social Security Trust Fund and about Medicare cuts and Medicaid cuts and all that, but please don't shoot the messenger. I mean, literally don't. Yeah. Anyway, we have to. We've known about this for decades, and we've refused, or politicians refuse to do anything about it. So, we are over time, so that is going to be it for today. I'll be back again tomorrow. I'll come up with a topic, and I'll talk about that for about 10 minutes. Remember, I love answering the video questions. So if you want to ask a question on the video, go to the website, click on that. You can ask up to a 2-minute question and or a comment or whatever the case may be. And other than that, y'all have an awesome, awesome, awesome night. And